Cheers to another episode of the Wine Notes Podcast. I'm your guide, AJ Weinzettel, on this journey of stories showcasing the people behind the wonderful world of wine, where we dive into conversations ranging from terroir, viticulture, to favorite music, superpowers, and more. Please enjoy this episode of the Wine Notes Podcast. Leah, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's such a pleasure to sit down with you, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, I'm delighted to be here, and I appreciate you reaching out. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I would almost consider you definitely a veteran in the industry now. I mean, you started off at a think tank in D.C. and a wine shop in Virginia, Pinot Camp in 2004. You've worked with Drew Voit, Herb Quaddy, and, it sounds like you have some interesting police officer stories with Chris Berg as well. Well, I'm sure we'll keep those, under wraps and just and whatnot. But
we didn't steal anything.
Okay, well, good. Darn. Well, that might be interesting. But you're also named from the San Francisco Chronicle in 2015 the number one winemaker to watch. So congratulations. I mean, it's quite a journey that you've been on.
Yeah, that was very unexpected. That was Esther Mosby, who came on board at the Chronicle back, I think that was like her first year. And she selected 4 of the top winemakers in the U.S. to watch. But I was the only one from Oregon, and I was the only woman on the list of 4. So wow. I was surprised, to say the least.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, it's like I said, you have quite the career.
Thank you. Yeah. Probably a lot of luck peppered in there too.
Well, you got to have a bunch of luck, but I mean, there's talent in there as well, which is all good. You're welcome.
Thank you.
If you could pick, a winemaker to collaborate with or whatever, do you have anybody that you would be like, yeah, I'd really like to work with this person?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I definitely have different friends in the industry who we've, talked about collaborative ideas. And yeah, it's funny. I mean, I was just kind of thinking about this not too long ago. Like if there was for me, it would be kind of a cool practice to get some women in wine that I really respect, who are doing some really innovative, different things. I have mentors who have coached me and I don't know if I would go backwards and go towards the mentors, because I feel like that space has already been explored, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So finding, I guess, common ground with someone who's kind of doing something unusual. Like I love Anna at A. Maurice Wines. Are you familiar with A. Maurice?
I have not heard of that one, no.
They're up in Walla Walla, and Food and Wine magazine named the top 15 women winemakers in the world back in 2018 or 2019. And there were only 3 Americans. I was on the list and she was on the list as well. So she was representing Washington, of course, in Oregon. And we do a lot of joint dinners. We've done a couple with Ethan Stoll Restaurant Group up in Seattle. And we've met through that channel. And I adore her. And I think she's a solid winemaker, and she's got great stories, and just she's sharp and smart, and is a studied and learned winemaker. And yeah, just someone I really respect. And who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's part of the reason why I kind of do the podcast is, to learn new names and wineries and just, kind of, dive in more, because, the world of wine, you can never learn too much.
It's always changing too. It's phenomenal that way.
Yes, it is. And talking about another phenomenal winemaker, I don't know, a couple months ago, I sat down with Wynn Peterson-Nedry. And
I love Wynn.
She's amazing. The very first question I asked her was like, so what is it like living with royalty?
Did you see our little video? Obviously.
Of course I did. So tell me about your Two Vines YouTube channel. I mean, that is quite the little adventure. Then you're having a bunch of fun with it, and I can't wait to see who else you get on there.
I had to take a little break, just with family stuff, and we did 6 months basically. We videotaped everything in the summer, in June and July of last year. And it was really to augment and supplement this, me and my winemaker friends, collaborative effort of sending wine to people who wanted like a wine from me and one of my friends. And we had to get really smart about how do we ship this? Because I can't legally ship other people's wine. So we had to like figure out, do you ship? And then I ship. And anyways, but it was more complicated than it needed to be to continue that part of the project. But we may look into like a third entity of like, my husband has an LLC called Contheros, and it's a wine company, and we might have his wine company sort of set it up so he can be a wine club so that he can ship out wine. And then we can continue that way. But in the meantime, we just kind of put that on a halt because it was getting too complicated. But I had the best part for me ended up being these interviews with my friends, because I know these people. I get to see them every now and again, and some not as often as I would like. And it just, I love humor. Who doesn't? But I fancy myself as somewhat funny. And so I'm always throwing jokes and cracking jokes in the winery, and I love whimsical humor. I love wordplay. Obviously, if you look at some of my labels, I love puns. And so just the Between Two Ferns was always just something that I thought was just hysterical and ridiculous. And I like that kind of ridiculous humor. And so it's unexpected with wine, because often when we sit down with winemakers, everything's so technical and we got to talk about this and the passion, and you have to be taken so seriously. And I'm obviously very serious about my winemaking, but I think there's more to life than just being in the cellar getting technical all the time. And it gets old and boring. And certainly in that little segment, we started off with the silly kind of deadpan humor, but then we quickly went into like, well, tell me your story. Like, let's share like the ins and outs. Some of it's technical, but a lot of it was more just personal. Yeah. Right.
I mean, let me see. I remember you had Cho Wines on there, and a couple other that I'm trying to remember. Yeah. You had Remy on there.
She was great. Yeah.
Yeah. She definitely was. Yeah. No, I am a subscriber. I'm like, oh, it's been too long.
Thank you. Well, Drew Voit, I think, was the only one who really threw it back at me, which I wanted him to. And he knows me well enough. When I worked for him, we had very much a brother-sister kind of relationship. Right. He almost like threw me into a pond once, like, just ridiculous, like just silly brother-sister. We just had that energy of like brother-sister energy. And so like, even in the cellar, I now make my wine at Harper Voit. So as soon as he opened up his winery, when he asked, I jumped at the opportunity to make my wine under the same roof, because I just adore him as a human. I think he's one of the smartest winemakers in the world. I just think the world of him. He's of course a mentor. And oddly enough, I barely see him. We're under the same roof, but like just me having a schedule with a 3-year-old and he running so many different facets of his business, I rarely see Drew. But he was definitely one of the most fun to do this. He was the first one I had in mind when I was going to do Me and My Winemakers Friends, because I knew he would throw it back at me in like an embarrassing way.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely great. I sat down with Jessica West and Peyton actually last week to interview them. Yeah, and with the new winery that's open and they're getting a bunch of new tanks, it sounds like things are really progressing forward amazingly over there.
It's exciting. I mean, it's a beautiful spot. What drew me to being in that facility, of course, working with people I like, but then also just the energy of like, no one, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, people are serious and they're really exceptional at what they do, but they're so easygoing about it. You know what I mean? Like, you walk into that space, there's no tension ever. I mean, it's a really airy, joyful place to walk into. Like, you can just feel that energy. And I love quantum physics, and I believe in like negative ions, positive ions, and like and our attitude and our environment has an impact on the wine. I believe that. It's a science that I could geek out on that on a level. I mean, I would hug my barrels for years because I was like, I'm putting forth negative ions into my environment. And that's what you want, right? Like it's why people go to the mountains. It's why people go to the ocean. They are in the environment and they promote health and well-being. So I wanted to be in a spot where I felt health and well-being was at the essence. You step in there, you feel good.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
And then aside from that, so just a good energy, great people, and fun. They have fun making wine. Like when I made wine under the same roof as Drew, 10 years ago, whatever, prior back to when I first started, the energy was always fun and lighthearted. We were very serious about what we were doing, but we all could crack a joke. And it was just the way I energetically wanted to be. If I have to share winery space, like that was really just, it came down to like, people have got to be light and positive. And because if not, then I easily, just my personality, if I'm around negativity, then I default to negativity. So I just love that about this space. I'm going on and on about this winery.
No, you're totally fine.
The other piece of it, from not just the energetic part of it, is just they have the best equipment, so it makes it easier. And I'm at a stage in life, again, I own my own business. I'm doing this mostly by myself. I have some cellar help here and there. And I'm a mom of a 3-year-old now, which all happened in the wake of the pandemic. So like my ethos has to be, I have to work smarter, not harder. It has to work out that I can juggle not having daycare when I thought I would, or doing this or that, the other. My priorities have shifted. So for me to be able to step into a winery and not have to like clean through belts of like old equipment, like that was a real challenge for me. Like it deflated me and took away joy when I would be in a space where the equipment was running the show. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's working against me, not for me. And with the equipment that Drew had, like it is the easiest sorting line to work with. And it's like, I mean, I could blindfold myself and clean it. It's so easy. So that's huge when you're thinking about your time, your energy, your state of mind. So anyways, I shifted gears going from talking about
no.
Interview series with my friends to like this wonderful winery where I just landed last harvest.
Yeah, no, I mean, Drew Voit has quite the resume, and he if anybody in Oregon wine country, has the processes down to a T, I'm pretty sure it would be Drew Voit. I mean,
and he's a man who can make things happen. He can make things happen. And so it's attractive to be working around people. Like I don't have to like sit here and worry about a thing. Like I just show up, I do my work. I'm not in their way. I am very cognizant of their time and their space, and I'm very respectful of their time and their space. And I would hope that if you sat down and we were talking to Drew or Jess and it happened to come up like, how are your tenants? Like, I would hope that they would be like, yeah, no, they're a dream. They're easy. They don't create chaos. They know what they're doing. They're smart. They, have gone to school. They've done this or they've done that or whatever. Like they know what they're doing and they're not going to cause any problems here. So like, I take pride in knowing that I'm stepping into their space, being respectful, not just interpersonally, but as a winemaker. I have my own equipment. I have my own stuff. And we have enough of a rapport that we can share things and know that things are going to get returned the way we found them, or that there's not, there are not going to be blowouts over like, you didn't clean this tank perfectly. It's none of that stuff happens,
Right. No. And I get it. And like you mentioned, Drew Voit, can get stuff done. And one of the things that Oregon, is really starting to, the whole sparkling program here in Oregon is really starting to take off.
Yeah.
And when you talk with the majority of people in Oregon making sparkling, they're using Andrew Davis. Well, Drew Voit likes to use Andrew Albin, I believe is his name. So there's just the contacts that he has and everything is just absolutely amazing.
And because of the kind person that he is, he's very generous with sharing that information too. He doesn't hold on to things like Gollum in the Ring. You know what I mean? Like if he finds something that he thinks is great, he'll share that. And so, Again, there's a generosity to him that makes it really appealing to work under the same space for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. You mentioned, your 4-year-old or your 3-year-old
3.
son.
Yep.
Yeah. Happening all during the pandemic, and, the pandemic was just the pandemic. I mean, it's just craziness, but you've written about, another, I wouldn't say, well, you also have like a holistic nutrition background, right? I
do.
And you've talked about, the struggles of being a winemaker and being a holistic nutritionist. It's, how do you feel about that today? I mean, do you still struggle with it? Like what have you concluded?
Well, it's an ever changing, ever evolving entity, this thing that I decided to start. So, ask me any given day how I feel about it. It's funny. I might give you a different answer, but, but, certainly, I was thinking about this because I'm in the process of writing the skeleton for a cookbook right now. And it's very much a love letter to, that's the typical American immigrant story of like longing and memory and clinging to these traditions of wherever your, grandparents left, and to kind of keep that, and so you have something unique to pass on to your children and so on. So it's sort of that longing to be connected and grounded to where you come from. And I think this is what makes, America today, especially when we talk about the right and the politics of immigration and borders and everything, right? Those of us whose grandparents or generations that came in like turn of the century, it wasn't that long ago, but it's long enough that people forget and they don't necessarily know the stories. Like I have Italian and Nordic heritage, and there was a lot of shame in your language, and you had to Americanize in the 1950s quickly because nobody wanted to hear your accent or, wanted to embrace your culture. So we Americanized really quickly. And there was a loss to that. And so anyways, I've been thinking about this holistically. It comes back to holism, not just using my nutrition background, but that's certainly comes up a lot when you're doing a project like this. But my interest in becoming a winemaker from the beginning kind of stemmed from this connection to heritage, and knowing that my mother's family, her ancestors, my great grandfather, when he immigrated here from the Campania, he was a descendant of a landowner that had been growing wine since the 1700s. So really, I had this epiphany of I'm not a first generation winemaker.
No,
my winemaking lineage goes back to the 1700s, and I never thought about that.
Right.
We talk about winemakers here in California. They're like, I'm 4th generation winemaker. I'm like, that's great. That's amazing. Your family started something. But I really paused when doing this process of putting this information together on this cookbook that I'm working on, because it's a lot about the stories that we hold in, and it's about longing, about, again, this connection to our grandparents and our great grandparents and their stories and why they had to leave wherever they left. And my book is just my experience, but it relates to everybody who has an immigrant story. And that's basically all of us, right? And most of us who have those stories that stem a little bit closer than, let's say, the Pilgrims, that those of us whose families have been here more recent, if you will, can connect in a way and humanize the experience of what immigrants today are going through, because it wasn't that long ago. And so I think it's about creating bridges, and I'm interested in my food and wine about creating bridges. So I'm getting back around to your question, is that there have been moments when I've asked myself, why am I doing this? Why am I still doing this? Because it is really challenging, and it's a financial burden that I just did not expect. And while I was able to front the financing from the beginning, we're talking starting a barrel at a time. So it's not like I came in and was like, I'm going to make 5,000 cases and I fronted that. No. I started with a barrel. Okay.
Right.
And slowly worked my way up. And because of things like the pandemic and having a child, I've had to like yo-yo up and down my production numbers just based on what I could handle, what I could manage, because I do most of this myself. And I do get, the past couple of years I have, since I had Ivor, I have had some help in the cellar, which has been, I mean, without it, I wouldn't have been able to continue. So The larger question is, why do I do this? Why do I continue? Because it doesn't pencil out at all. And I'm not interested really in scaling. I don't want to make 50,000 cases of wine. That has zero interest to me because there's other things I want to do with my life. And I enjoy making wine and I love sharing it and breaking bread. And again, this comes back to some of the themes that I'm putting in this cookbook that I'm working on. But it really has to, there has to be this sense of, when you say, why am I doing this? There has to be this sense of peace of, well, because if I wasn't doing it, I'd be sad. So for me, like, it's just, well, if I wasn't making wine, I'd be sad. But on the other hand, it's like, it also is this enormous responsibility and financial responsibility that is aching in itself. And so, you have to make it all has to work out. It all has to pencil out. So we're able to just make it work right now at small production. And, the most I've made is 1,800 cases annually. And I've dialed back a bit after having Ivor, just with my recovery. And then again, he was born in 2019. And once he was a year old, we had the pandemic. So it was just a lot to have to go through.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's something I ask myself literally every day. So good question. I don't know if I fully answered it.
Well, no, it's totally fine. I mean, it's, to me, I kind of struggle with it, just being on the consumer side, right? I enjoy exploring wine. I enjoy the nuances and learning all about it. But also, it all has to be in moderation. It all has to, right. I still want to be healthy. I want to be active. I don't want to, it's a struggle that I work with as well. And it's just like, there's a lot of sugar in there and I try to stay away from sugar, but I like wine. What can I say?
It's true. Well, again, having a holistic nutrition background, I'm very, very mindful about wine and its place in my life. And certainly I look at wine as not, it's not a recreational thing. For me, it's a food group. So, having that Italian heritage, we would have wine on the table to go with food, and the wine would accompany the food, and it was regional. And this, how it works if you go to France, if you go to Italy, if you go to Spain. And so, I started drinking definitely when I was in high school. I was allowed to have wine with a meal, especially Sunday dinners were always a big deal. But when I was like 5, I even have memories of like being at weddings or funerals or whatever. I had a big, big Italian family. My family's giant on my mom's side. But I remember my grandmother giving us like just a little bit of wine with like Italian soda. So technically I've been drinking wine since I was 5.
Technically,
but not really. But
right.
So I've always been, the mystery of alcohol was taken away from me because being around a family that allowed you when you're in your teens to have a glass of wine with dinner, the mystery's gone. You don't need to like go out and like binge drink with your friends. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. Like I could just have a glass of wine with my dad would let me try beer. Have a sip of beer. They're very European. They lived in Europe for a while. My parents did in the late 60s, early 70s. So their approach was very different in how they raised us. And so they took away that mystery. My point is that, so with me growing up, wine was always something that was easy to have in moderation. And I'm not saying that I haven't had my moments of like letting go and having a good time with my friends. But especially now, especially when I was pregnant, it was very easy for me to like stop drinking wine. tasting it professionally. And even now, I mean, with Ivor, I don't have the desire to drink the way I might have in the past. I'll taste my lots to do my technical tastings, and that's pretty much it. And then if my husband will open a bottle, I might have like a third of a glass, and that makes me happy. I'll have just a little bit with my food, and I'm good to go. But you're right. When you're in your role, or, you know, my husband worked for a distributor, and I've worked for a distributor in the past, and I've worked in a wine shop and wine bars in the past, and you're constantly tasting, and then you get excited. So you're constantly around wine, and you want to share and have that glass. It gets tricky. It gets tricky.
That it does. You know, we talked about, you know, you being a veteran in the world and everything. And just recently, Paul G, you know, he did a review on your 2020 Cab Franc, you know, and it says, Cab Franc may be the most underplanted and overlooked red grape in the Northwest, often used in blends, but rarely as a full-on varietal. It thrives in Southern Oregon, and this winery is an evangelist for the grape. This is a fine example with balanced flavors of blueberry fruit, hints of menthol, black tea, coffee, silky tannins, and a long, graceful finish. And he chose it as the reserve for that, you know, that week's Cellar selection. Yeah, no, he is so great and wonderful and just refreshing.
Refreshing
very
is the word
refreshing.
that comes to mind, because it's not like he's new to this. He's been doing this a long time, and he hasn't lost his curiosity.
No. And
what I mean by that, is like, I mean it in the Leonardo DaVinci sense. So I'm putting it on a high level. What I mean by that is that Leonardo da Vinci lived by 7 tenets, one of which was curiosity. And he always said, the moment you lose curiosity, you're pretty much dead. Like, it's kind of it. Like, your essence of life is over. We should always be curious, and we should always, no matter what your age is, no matter what station, no matter where you are in your career, if you are lacking that curiosity I mean, even as a winemaker, you know, this is why I think school is essential. I mean, I feel like when you just are like, I'm going to work a few harvests and I learned everything I need to know, then you're lacking curiosità. Because if you have curiosità, you want to learn everything you possibly can about something. Exactly. And you will like fight to the bone to learn everything you possibly can. Now, Not everybody doesn't have to have a Da Vincian kind of like outlook in life. But I think when you're doing something as specialized as winemaking, like, I mean, I'll go out and just say it. I just feel like if you don't have that curiosità, then you're going to sell yourself short, and it will be reflected in your wines.
Right. No, you have to be curious. I mean, you have to, like when I spoke with Jessica and Peyton the other week, you know, they were like, they're starting their own label, and they wanted to play with some varietals that, you know, is outside of Pinot and whatnot. So they have a multiple, I want to say a 23-day skin contact Pinot Gris. And they just want to play and just be curious and dive into all of that. I mean, that is, I totally agree with you. It is an essence of life. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing, you know, all the podcast and everything that I'm doing, because, you know, there's so many stories out there, and there's so much to learn, and just to understand and see the people behind the wine is just absolutely amazing.
Well, yeah. And pulling it back to the review you just shared and Paul Gregutt, I just appreciate how he still, carries with him this torch of curiosity. He's not interested in reviewing the old school way. That's why I love that he broke away from enthusiast and is doing his own thing. I think it's brilliant. I, for one, appreciate his voice, and I don't believe that I deserve to have great reviews. I mean, I respect the critic. I really do. But where I have a problem is when critics they don't even like get to know who you are. They're just tasting a bunch of wines, right? And it's reflected. I mean, like I went through a particular, I ended up ignorantly going down a rabbit hole with a critic that I thought I needed to have critique my wine. And it was a vulnerability on my part, because I was seeking a validation. I mean, I'm going to be just blunt and honest about it. And especially as a woman winemaker, I was like, well, if I'm going to be taken seriously for the next iteration of wine that I want to make, which is like expensive small lot wine, then I better get these kinds of reviews to attract the kinds of readers and wine consumers who are going to appreciate this. And my reasons were all wrong, but it was innocent enough. But I submitted wines, and then I got an email that in order to see the scores, I had to pay $399 to get the newsletter. And as a small, tiny little business, that is not nothing, you know? Like, I was like, all right, I guess I will have to figure out a bill that I'm not going to pay this month. I want to know what the score is now, you know? Because now it's out there, and I want to know what it is. And one of the scores was just so basic, and then the other one was just as bad as it could be. And it was so humbling to me, like, because I expected at least, you know, average. And when I say average, I believe like 90 is like an average by looking at how the magazines score. And this particular entity, like when I was flipping through, there were so many 92s and they didn't mean anything. And the descriptions were like, told you nothing. And I was like, what am I paying $3.99 for? First of all, one of my wines was compared to, he thought it was a Pinot Noir. They wrote it up as if it was a Pinot Noir, using the word Pinot Noir in it. Oh. And I was like, this is Southern Oregon Cab Franc. You've totally missed the mark. And now it's going to be my shame because people who follow you and believe in you are going to see that score and think, don't bother to buy that woman's wine. So I had a really hard moment of like, maybe I shouldn't submit my wines because nobody knows who I am. It's going to be totally misunderstood. And I believe in blind tasting and all of that. And I respect the critic. But this came to a point where I recognized like they didn't even know what they were tasting. And so I was like, and like mea culpa, I guess. And then you flip and see someone like Paul Gregutt, and that's not his approach at all. And he's coming from a place of curiosity. He's like, I want to know what this wine is, and I want to learn more because I love Cabernet Franc. I think it's exciting that it's being grown in Southern Oregon. Here's a story. Like he again, so I don't think that I necessarily deserve certain praise or scores, but I certainly appreciate when a critic takes the time to consider what a wine is before he, you know, writes about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It makes complete sense. And, you know, one of the things that Paul does, you know, he'll leave the bottle open for like 3 or 4 days and kind of see what it's like after that time to kind of get the, you know, what its aging potential is. And, you know, I come from a tech background and, you know, 99, 2000, you know, the whole term, the long tail effect was just, you know, coming into play. And really, when you get into wine, I think the long tail effect really comes into play, especially in a direct-to-consumer market. I mean, you have your tribe, your followers. And really, when you get, you know, the monthly wine enthusiasts, it's like, how many freaking wines are in there? And it's hard to keep track of everything. And it's like, it's just, it is difficult. And I really appreciate what Paul is doing as well. And it's, Scores are hard. Yeah. You know, but I think you had kind of touched on, you know, that you were did you finish the HBO special that Brene Brown did for I can't think of her
didn't finish the whole series. I actually only got to the first one. But I have the book.
Atlas of the Heart, that's what it was.
Yes, Atlas of the Heart. I have a few of her books, but I wanted to get that book because when I watched the first episode first. I was like, oh, this is a Netflix special or HBO on Brene Brown. Of course I'm going to watch this.
Of course.
Put the first one in, and it resonated with me just in interpersonal relationships of not always having the language for what you're really feeling. And I worked in communications for many, many years. From the standpoint of wine, but when you talk about communications in terms of like talking to your mother or your sister or your child or your neighbor or whatever, it just was very interesting to me to see that there's often not a language to really adequately describe things that we're actually experiencing or feeling. So I was hooked on that concept. So I will finish it, and I will flip through the book when I have some time. But
yeah, no, I totally understand. My favorite book of hers is Gifts of Imperfection.
Oh,
and there was a part in that book where a husband walked up to her and says, well, you're only talking about the female side of the fence, but when you look at my wife and my daughter, they expect me to always be on that white horse and come in and save the day. Huh. And Brene was like, I hadn't really thought about that, but it's, in many ways it is so true. And, just to see her taking a holistic approach, at shame, and just constantly talking about these difficult subjects.
Right.
And it's funny, I have a 13-year-old, and, within this week, there's been a couple of times she's like, "Oh, thank you so much for making that a very awkward conversation." And I'm like, but that's what I'm trying to do. I want you to be comfortable in these awkward situations.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's, I can't even imagine, like, every stage it has its own unique challenges, but then also, of course, the unique things that are so beautiful about that particular stage. And 3, just, it's a tough one. Like, I thought it was going to be easy. I thought we breezed through 2, because everyone's like terrible 2s. So we breezed through it.
Right.
We're just happening to get a lot of it like now. So it's fine. But it's like, I've realized that parenting is so less about me teaching Ivor. It's like I'm having to learn so many things, often uncomfortable, about myself. Like my need to be in control, right? Like that's fun.
Yeah. And just there's so much. There is so much. She just turned 13 in October, and there's been some instances within the last few months. I'm like, really? Yeah. We're going to bring out the 13-year-old right now? Please don't. No.
Yeah.
It's just
Where's
crazy.
My little girl? Where is she?
Yes, I miss her. Talking about little ones and whatnot, I know it's super early on in your son's journey, but what kind of legacy do you want to leave him, or have you given that any thought at all?
Always. I think about him like all the time. Everything I do, I think about him. And I think the thing about this business is it's not that I necessarily want to leave something for him to take on, because I don't believe that we are here to create expectation for our children. It's here. If I want to have something that's there for him, if he is interested, then I will 100% support him and make sure he has all the tools he needs. But really, ever since Ivor was born, my husband and I have had this philosophy on baby-led everything. So, like, we didn't force the feeding at, like, it's 6 months, whatever. Now 6 months, we got to start. We just let him kind of lead the way with everything. Potty training was a dream because we didn't push it on him. He came to us and was like, "Mommy, can I have some underwear?" Yeah, let's get some underwear.
Let's do it.
Like, everything we've done, weaning from nursing, everything has been about him and his journey, and when things are met, then we move on. And so that's just our philosophy, and we're privileged that we can work that way to give him that flexibility. It's not like I have to go to a job where I have to leave and like, gotta go. So you better learn how to potty train. Like, there was no pressure. There were no deadlines facing us, because I'm able to, both my husband and I now work from home. So it creates an ideal environment, if you will, to do what we want. So that said, I have no expectation for him to do anything but be happy. So what I do want is I want him to see, we do our best to model the right behavior. Sometimes we model bad behavior as parents, and, we feel guilty about that. And it's like, that's life. We always tell him that's part of the human journey. Sometimes we're going to mess up too.
Right.
And I don't want to set up these false expectations that parents are perfect and they do everything right and we're authority. I want him to learn that we're human and we do the best we can.
Yeah.
But I also, in raising him, my husband and I, this is sort of our philosophy, is that, he's just such a sweet, loving, interesting little boy. And I feel like my work is to ensure that we're raising a white boy. So I want to make sure that privilege is in check. I want to make sure that he has empathy, compassion, kindness. That's my work. I'm concerning myself more with that than legacy. But at the same time, it's important for me as a woman and as a woman entrepreneur, it's important to me that he sees me in a position where he hopefully has some pride. Like, I'm proud of you, Mom, for how hard you worked, and it wasn't easy, and you did a lot without a lot of help. And I don't mean like people working in the cell, that kind of thing, but I mean in structurally running a business. I want him to see the struggles. I want him to see when I'm like coming home crying sometimes. I want him to bear witness to that. And I want him to glean his own interpretation of what my work was and is, or is and was. And that said, if it's around, my label is around long enough that he could potentially work with it one day, that's great. But at the same time, I didn't make this wine for him as a legacy thing. I mean, I don't even know if I want to see it through for 5 years from now, to be honest. Who knows? I probably will, but we might do a second label. I don't know. But I just, I really am living my life to live in the moment and not in the future, which is why I'm not scaling, because scaling your business brings a whole onslaught of other issues. As soon as you start scaling, your costs go up. Sorry.
That's okay.
Your costs go up. Your demands go up. So everything, you're not just making more wine, you're taking more away from your life. And
right. And there's so much more pressure.
Yeah. There's more pressure, more to sell, more to do. And that's just not what I want to do with my life personally. I enjoy making wine. I like doing it small scale. And I will continue to do it until it just doesn't serve its purpose anymore. And I try to live a purpose-driven life. So I am in this unique phase in my 40s where I'm trying to rediscover my purpose. So I'm doing a lot of journaling. I have a life coach.
Oh, yeah. No, I get it. I love 40s, right? I'm 47, and really, when I turned 40, it was like the best time ever. So I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, I'm around your age. Yes, same thing. And so I'm in a space right now where I'm focusing on what is my purpose? Am I using my gifts to help make the world a better place? What time do I have to do that kind of accomplish that kind of thing? And it can be small. It could be very small. It doesn't have to be this epic, like I'm Oprah Winfrey and I'm opening up a school for, I don't have to do this grandiose thing. It can be just one small thing that I'm doing to help make the world a better place. So I'm really trying to look inward at myself and what my legacy is. And the wine business is just this wine thing that I created. It's nice and I'm grateful for it. And it's opened a lot of really unique doors for me. But it's to me, it's not the destination. It's like if you're on a train and your life is a train, it's a stop along the way. But it's not the final destination. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. Do you have any idea what that final destination is?
Well, I have gleaming moments of when I think I do, but honestly, my undergraduate degree was creative writing, and I focused on poetry, and I went to a very small women's college, and my mentor was Mary Oliver. So I was very lucky to have access to a poet of that level and esteem, and I was pretty good at it. I actually, she entered a poem of mine to the Academy of American Poets for a college competition, and I won the first place prize of American College Poets.
Wow.
And then I didn't have the self-confidence to carry on. Like, I thought about getting an MFA in creative writing, but then I was like, well, what am I going to do? I was 22 when I graduated from college, right? So I was like, what do I know? What am I going to write about at 22?
Right. It's decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life at 22. That's impossible.
Yeah, it made zero sense to me to go and get an MFA in creative writing at 22. I was just like, that's kind of irresponsible. I need to go live a life. So I just decided to go out and live a life and make mistakes and, have my heart broken a few times and just live. And so that's what I did. And there were all these stops along the way, including making wine. But ultimately, my heart is writing. And I just see myself as things. I have more confidence now because I've had more of a lifetime now of experience. Right. I became a mom at 45. That tells you there I revealed my age. But that, I never would have thought if you asked my 12-year-old self, when do you think you're going to get married and have kids? I was like, I'll get married when I'm 22 and I'll have my first child at 25. Like, that's what I would have thought as my reality. And it just did not go anywhere near that destination on that train ride. So long answer to your question. I see myself being kind of a crone. I have a braid here. I want a braid that goes all the way down my back and I want it to be silver. I will never color my hair or dye it. I want an old lady silver braid down my back. And I want to walk the beaches and mountains and just write poems the way Mary Oliver did, really. She had a notebook and a pencil everywhere she went, and she wrote most of her poems writing in Provincetown, like in Cape Cod, just writing as she walked. A meditation, if you will.
Yeah, no, that is beautiful. That is absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I have some rapid fire questions to kind of wrap things up.
Sure.
Okay. During harvest, who is your favorite artist to listen to?
Ooh. I mean, I always love Florence and the Machine because she's just like my favorite. But then I will go into, we've been doing this for years, but it never gets old. Like 70s yacht rock.
Oh, yeah. No,
I love ELO. ELO is one of my ultimate favorite bands.
Oh, awesome. Harvest notes, are they digital or handwritten?
Handwritten, 100%.
What is your favorite indulgent food?
Oh, my favorite indulgent food. I love really, really, really good, high quality, organic, fair trade, dark chocolate.
Oh, okay. If you could choose a superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility.
Mm-hmm. Favorite superhero?
Wonder Woman.
And last book that you read or, like on audio or something of that nature?
Violetta by Isabel Allende.
Ooh, what is that about?
Book. It's about, Isabel Allende is one of my favorite writers. She's Chilean American. And she wrote House of Spirits. Like, she's just phenomenal. But Violetta it's wonderful because it chronicles this woman's life. But it starts when the Spanish flu was going on. So obviously I think she got her inspiration writing this with the pandemic. And so reading it today, you could just sort of draw comparisons of the experience of, and it's only a small part of the book, just the intro begins with the Spanish flu, but it just chronicles this woman's life and it's just beautifully written, very just, you just get pulled into her life story.
Right. I'll have to check that out. I'm all about life stories.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's 100% fiction, but yeah.
Yeah, but still, I love a good story.
Yeah. She's a phenomenal writer. So if you haven't read Isabel Allende, I highly recommend her books.
Well, very, very cool. Well, Leah, that's all the questions that I have for you today. I can't thank you enough for all of your time. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for reaching out. It was a lot of fun, and I hope I wasn't too long-winded.
Oh, no, it was great. I love the long-form questions and answers and just really diving deep. So I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you very much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
All right.